Hi, this is Ruth from Yoga Well. Welcome to today's flow class with a focus on hips. Before we get started, let's just run through a few props you may want to use. Later in the practice, we will be having a play with Royal Pigeon Pose, Raj Kapottanasana. And it can be helpful to have a few props to hand. So just run through how you could use that so you have them ready. As you enter your pigeon pose on one side, the hip sinks down on that front leg side and it needs to be well grounded. So if hip does not meet the floor, you can here use props to fill in that gap. So you could just use a cushion, and as the hip sinks down, when it finishes, fill in that gap between that hip and the floor so it feels solid and stable and both hips feel level. You could also use instead a yoga block to the same effect if you have that available. You can combine props together if a higher support is needed. And you can even create an inclined slope as shown. We're going to start our practice in a comfortable seated position. And we'll be working with the hand mudra, Shakti mudra. So come into a comfortable seat on your mat and be ready to settle into that hand mudra, which I'll now show you. With palms facing each other, connect little and ring fingers together. Fold the thumbs into each palm. Curl the first two fingers around thumbs. Connect those joints of first two fingers of each hand. And then hold the mudra in front of the heart center. Relax. And if Shakti hand mudra isn't working for you today, then simply join your palms together again, relaxing shoulders and relaxing elbows and holding that mudra at heart space. Otherwise, we're in our Shakti hand mudra with the thumbs nested, last two fingers joined, settling hands at heart space. Your comfortable seat, which may be cross-legged, support beneath sit bones. It could be low kneeling, legs extended, or even seated at a chair. Soften the features of the face. Relax around the eyes, the cheeks, and the lips. Soften the shoulders and across the chest. Comfortable breath. Invoking a sense of space across the rib cage, the lower abdomen, and drop your awareness down into the pelvis. Relaxing into this space. And holding your awareness in this space around the pelvis. Feel the rise and fall of the breath. And you may even notice a change in the tone of those pelvic floor muscles. The gentle expansion as lungs fill, diaphragm descends, pelvic floor descends. And that exhale, Diaphragm rising, pelvic floor muscles lifting a bit as those lungs empty. So this pelvic floor area, our space of Mula Bandha. Noticing also the movement through the lower abdomen. Feeling that space of our Uddiyana Bandha. Notice how the breath has changed and settled here. And retain a sense of comfortable, controlled, even pacing to the breath. Smooth, steady in, and smooth, steady out. Keep that up while we release the hand mudra, easing through the fingers, easing through the wrists. If there's support beneath your sit bones, you're welcome to keep them there. As the hands drop behind, soles of the feet come to the floor, taking an inhale here, and then allowing the knees to wiper over to your right side with exhale. Your inhale brings them back to center. To the left side with the exhale. To center with inhale. And as the knees once more drop to the right, maybe you're taking a gaze over to the left to bring more of a twist in. Inhale to center. Knees left, perhaps gazing over to the right. Inhale to center. As the knees go over to the right, the left hand can lift and open into a lateral movement. And then hand returns, knees lifted. Knees left as that right arm sweeps over to that left side, stretching through the side of the waist and releasing down. Let's take that once more to each side. Opening through the side of the waist. And the last side. As the knees go right, sweep the arm ahead of you over to that right side, around the head, and then the hand lands back down, knees lifted through inhale. Exhale, sweeping around, and then the inhale arises as we take it overhead and land down, knees lifting. So we're including the twist. We move into some lateral movements, also working those shoulders a little more deeply. Last side, sweeping round and coming back up. So mid-mat, probably a good time to release any prop underneath you. As we tuck that left foot underneath, we can stretch out that right leg. Left hand comes behind in line with shoulder. And then as you inhale, pressing through shin bone, we can lift that hip line, stretching arm overhead, weight through that grounded left hand. Exhale to release back down again, lightly placing the side hip. Twice more as we push out through that extended leg, extended foot. And exhale, barely kissing the ground with the side of the hip. One more time as we rise up with inhale. And releasing down. Stay with steady breath, stay focused as we slowly transition to the other side. Tucking that left foot underneath, grounding the outer thigh, right foot, and then sliding that right hand underneath in the line of right shoulder a little further back, slipping out and extending through that left foot. As we inhale, hips rising up. Exhale to release down. Twice more. Feel the weight through the hand, but push out through that extended leg. Lightly touching down. And one more time through inhale, rising. And slowly releasing down through your exhale. Coming out of that, I'll turn sideways on the mat for a better view of where we're going next. So rolling down onto the floor. Use your core muscles, and then preparing for shoulder bridge. Check that there's space for the neck. So the back of the head is sitting flat to the floor. Pull those heels close in, parallel feet, arms to the side. Broaden the shoulders, connect more of the shoulder blades. As you inhale, tuck that tailbone, start to peel the spine up away from the floor. And then as you exhale, aiming for one vertebrae at a time, articulating back down. Feel the low back connect, and then roll to the back of the pelvis and return lumbar curve. Inhale, tucking under, rising up one vertebrae at a time. Press through the shoulders, open the chest. Exhale, that curling down, level out the pelvis at the end of the movement. And take that twice more. Inhale into your lift. You decide how high you go. We're just still warming up. And exhale, lowering down. Pressing through your grounding, through the feet, the arms, the shoulders. And releasing back down with that final exhale. Feet can walk a little further away from sit bones. Arms sweeping overhead with inhale. Tuck the chin as we take those arms back in direction of legs and start to draw ourselves all the way back up to a seated position, knees bent, feet to the floor. Inhale, lift through the spine, arms ahead. Keep the arms where they are as we exhale. Engage your abdominal muscles as we start to tip back. Check that tailbone isn't tucking under. Lifting and rising back up again. Keep lifting through that low back, that lumbar region. Lengthening through the spine. Coming back up with inhale. Exhale. You decide how far back you go. Coming up with in-breath. And final time. Exhale. That tip back. Inhale, coming forward. Sliding legs out straight. Exhale, rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Arms to the floor. Bend the knees, and then we're lifting those knees so they're over the hip line, vertical thighs. 90 degrees at the knees, shin bones parallel to the floor. Take an inhale here. Right leg, flex through that foot and reach that leg out straight. You decide how low to the floor it goes. And then as you inhale, slowly draw it back to starting position. Left side, flex through that ankle, fire up the thigh, engage the abdominal muscles too. Inhale back to starting position. Feel the weight through the back of the pelvis, left and right side. Aim as you stretch that right leg out to keep grounded through the back of the pelvis. So we don't start to arch through that back at all. Exhale, left side. Inhale, that slow, controlled return. 2 to 3 more breaths. So we're going to stay working on the right side, and you may just hold and hover. You decide what height you're working with, or you could on that right side just work with the drawing the knee back to starting position and extending it. Your next inhale, we're all pulling that knee back again. And then on that left side, working the same amount of time. Notice the weight through that back of the pelvis. Feel where the rib cage connects to the floor. Steady, smooth breath. Recruit those abdominal muscles all the way around, low belly, a little inward and upward. And your next inhale draws that knee back again. Feet coming to the floor with that next exhale. Arms rising overhead as you inhale. You decide if knees stay bent or you extend them as the arms start to sweep back over, and we curl ourselves back up to that upright seated position. From here, we're going to transition to all fours. I'll have my head towards camera. It's a better view for what we're going to be doing from here. So initially, big toes together, feet a little wide, taking an inhale, and then sink those hips back, round through the back, tuck the chin. Inhale, coming upright, relax front of body. Rounding the back on exhale, drawing back. And this time as you inhale, come back to that tabletop all four positions, vertical arms, vertical thighs. Lengthen through spine on inhale. And gently draw the front ribs, low belly, inward and upward. Next, inhale. That right knee opens out to the right side. So the foot and the knee stay in same relationship. We open to the side, abduction. And then the exhale, we lightly draw that leg back under hip. We're going to take that a couple more times. Inhale, opening to the side. Hug that left hip in. Make sure it doesn't kick out to the side as we lift that right leg. And then exhale, lower. So unmoving side helping to stabilize. Hug in left side as that right knee rises out to the side with the lower leg. Exhale to center. And then we're going to lift that knee, same side, right side, back away from us, level with the hips, so sole of the foot pointing up to the sky. And then start to externally rotate through that hip. So the sole of the foot starts to point over towards that left side now. Again, check what's going on through the torso. Lengthen through the neck, shoulder blades glide down. Hug the front ribs up into the body. Steady in-breath here. Feel the buttock muscles working on that lifted right side. Final inhale here. Foot line lifts up as we take that internal rotation through the hip. And then we release that knee down to the floor. Let's take the knees wide, sink those hips back once more, tuck the chin, and this time pick those hands up and take a little bit of wrist relief. So movement through the wrists, wiggling through the fingers. Keep that steady control of the breath. Keep the presence with sensation with your practice. Grounding the hands on the inhale, lifting up, setting yourself back up in that tabletop position. As you push through the hands, feel the energy come into those arms and feel the shoulders are lifting up off the head of the arm bones. Length for your neck. Smooth, steady inhale, lengthening along the spine. Soften the front body up towards the spine. Left leg, the knee opens. And that foot lifting out to that left side as we hug that right hip in so we don't sway off to the right side. The exhale, starting position. Twice more. Inhale, that slow opening. Feel for your range of movement here. Exhale, coming back in. Final time, that abduction out to the side with inhale. And then returning back again. So we start by taking that knee now behind us and lifting up, sole of the foot skyward on that in-breath. And then as you exhale, that external rotation that draws sole of the foot to face over to that left side. Holding here for a few breaths. Notice if the front body wants to sag down a little bit here. Again, draw that rib cage up into the body. Feel the shoulders are lifting off the head of arm bones. Lots of length for the neck. Steady inhale here. And then with that exhale, foot lifting, kneecap faces down, and then ground that knee to the floor. Sitting back on the heels if that's okay, or any other seated position as we work through the wrists. So bringing palms together, bringing forearms and elbows together ahead of the face. Imagine those palms are glued together. Steady inhale. And then fingertips of both hands start to point to the right. Notice how the forearm on that left arm starts to glide upward to keep palms stacked. Inhale, palms face fingertips upwards. Exhale, fingertips pointing over to the left side. Keep those forearms gliding. Inhale. Fingertips up, once more to each side. Check shoulders aren't elevating, keep them relaxed down. Fingertips up, wrists in neutral. And one last time as fingertips point over to that left side. Coming back to center. And then elbows come wider to tuck those elbows into the sides, soften the shoulders down, fingertips pointing ahead. Forearms not moving as we just use those wrist joints to tip the fingertips more upward. And then roll through to tip the fingertips more downward towards the lap. A few more times. Just the wrist joint working that relatively small movement, fingertips upward and fingertips downward. And one more time. Inhale and exhale. Once more, release that. Give those hands a shake. I'll turn a quarter turn for a better view. From this low kneeling position, we're just going to take that spinal movement like we do for a cat. So as you inhale, drop the front of the pelvis down. Feel the gentle stretch through the belly, through the ribs, and you could gently drag those hands back, opening across the heart. Relax shoulders down. Through the exhale, tuck that tailbone under, tuck the chin round through the back, fingertips towards kneecaps. Twice more as we inhale, a gentle front body stretch. And with sit bones to heels, you should really feel that movement through the pelvis. One more time. Inhale, front body stretch. Exhale, feel the space open through the back. And then settle into that neutral position. From here, we're going to work between a low squat and a standing forward fold. So hands coming forward to lift the hips and tuck the toes. And then knees rise up, finding that low squat, fingertips to the floor. Lengthen through the spine on your inhale. And then as you exhale, connecting belly and the ribs to the thighs. As the sit bones rise, the heels land. We forward fold and tuck the chin. Inhale, start to draw the head, the chest away from the legs as we bend the knees, sinking the hips, lifting the heels. And twice more as we exhale into forward fold, maybe moving a little more deeply each time. Steady breath guiding the movement. Slower the breath, the more time for the movement. Exhale into that forward fold. Complete the breath, complete the movement. Inhale that lengthening outward through the chest, through the heart as we hinge down. And then arms coming up for that squat balance. Recruit your abdominal muscles, recruit thighs, heels staying lifted, arms rising up. And then from here, transitioning into that lifted heel squat, you decide how low you go. Moving between these two. Inhale, coming back up, straightening up, rising through the heels and the arms. Exhale, arms parallel to the floor, sinking down as we sink through hips and knees. Heels aiming to stay lifted. One more time. Final time into that squat. Maybe you're going a little lower. And then rising back up again. And releasing the heels, releasing the arms. From here, take a few gentle, easeful releasing movements. And we're going to work with a balance, standing balance. So dancer pose or variations thereof. Steady inhale and steady exhale. Weight into right foot as that left thigh hugs in. Left hand slides down to ankle, foot flexed. Draw knee down to floor. Foot coming behind, close to sit bone. Press through standing leg. Lengthen through the spine. Steady breath, steady drishti gaze point. Opposite right arm maybe sweeping forward and skyward. Smooth inhale and smooth exhale. If you choose to have that back foot pushing out into that hand grab, use it to lift the heart Engage more through glute, low belly, pelvic floor to open up space in low back. From there, you could choose to start hinging a little forward, not changing that relationship of back foot hand grab. Keep that constant tension. Feel that the lifted foot in hand is pushing a little outward. Create a stable resistance. If you tipped forward, start to lift yourself back upright. So hold heel to sit bone as you release the hands. Feel the hamstrings engage. And then as arm lowers, foot lowers. Take a few releasing movements. Come to your Tadasana with feet under line of hips. Take an inhale. And take an exhale. Fire up weight in standing left leg. Final in-breath here. Exhale, that right knee drawing up, hugging around it. Right hand drawing down towards that ankle. Start to pull the heel behind as the knee lowers. Steady yourself. Grounding and lifting energies. Opposite left arm could rise up. And maybe you're just working here. Steady focus, steady breath. Coming out whenever you are ready. Maybe you're starting to draw that back foot behind into the hand, as well as pushing a little outward to activate the leg a bit more. Option to start hinging forward, lifting through heart space. Notice if that right hip wants to swing a little out to the side. It's not externally rotating. Keep the front of hip bone facing forward. If you've tipped forward, starting to lift upright. Hold heel momentarily towards sit bone as the hand releases its grip. And then releasing the foot, releasing the arm. Take some releasing movements here. Maybe it's some maypole swings. Maybe with that wider stance, you're taking a few rolls through the hips in each direction. And then standing at the top of your mat, ready for a vinyasa sequence. I'll stand sideways on for the better view. Steady inhale, arms to the side with exhale. Sweeping arms skyward with inhale. Hinge into your forward fold with exhale, belly rib by rib, knee bend accommodating that, tuck the chin. Lengthen to half fold, extend through the head, the neck, chest moves away from legs, maybe legs straighten more. Into your plank pose with exhale. Pause there through your inhale. Reach out through the heels, extend, fire up thighs, buttocks, maybe the buttock line drops a little. Lowering, chaturanga or knees, chest chin with exhale. Up dog or cobra with your inhale. Downward dog, exhale. Steady breath. Right foot steps a little forward of the left here. So right heel roughly in line, just in front of the toe line of that left foot. As you push through the hands, can you feel the hips moving further back with the benefit of that right knee bend? Maybe you feel that left heel connect more fully down to the floor. Into three-legged dog, that bent right knee, we start to lift it up skyward. Keep the weight through those hands, driving the hips back. And then bend that right knee, open through that hip, external rotation that brings that right sole of the foot over to face to the left side. And then gaze under that left shoulder. Can you feel more weight play into the right hand to aim to even out the weight between left and right here? Steady inhale. And exhale, extend that lifted right leg and turn the hip to face down. Gaze forward high off that left heel to draw right knee and land the foot. Into side angle pose is grounding that left heel to the floor. And then right forearm could rest to thigh as we open the body to the side of the mat. Fingertips skyward. Palm turns to face in towards you. Head of the arm bone drops into shoulder. Press out outer thigh of that extended back leg to foot. Maybe the hand finds that diagonal. Softening front ribs in, rotating through the chest. Light support from that grounded forearm. Steady inhale. Arm sweeps back to the side with your exhale. We're going to play with the transition in and out of a half moon balance pose. So hop that back foot a little closer in. Front knee stays bent. Stay facing to the left side. As that right arm releases from the thigh, stretch it forward of right foot and a little out to the little toe side of the foot. You don't need to look. Feel it. Soften the front ribs into the body. As the back heel starts to reach, feel the hip line push forward. Weight more into the hands, but use the standing leg. Find that center of gravity to lift and float back leg up. And then as you bend that right knee, send the hips down and back. Feel the foot find the floor. Maybe you need to reposition where that front right hand is for better support. Again, inhale, driving the weight of the torso, the hips forward, floating leg up. Maybe you're pressing out, standing right leg more towards straight. Knee bends, hips drop down and go back as that foot lands. One more time. Maybe you can rotate, stacking ribcage chest a little more this time. Leg rising. Feel the work that the standing leg does and where that pelvis is. And then from here, with back leg grounded, we rise up, preparing for Trikonasana. Perhaps the stride lengthens, arms wide, shoulders down. Steady inhale. Turn the gaze beyond right fingertips as we tuck that front hip in, reaching over that front leg, maybe with soft knee. Rotate at the end of that range of movement. Arms into position, stacking ribs, stacking chest. Gaze can be upward with chin slightly tucked, jawline soft. Or gaze could be ahead of you or down. Pushing through the feet, fire up the stability, the support of your grounding. Feel the inhale draws that length along the spine. Exhale, the softening through the rib cage, the chest. Final inhale. And arm drops down as we soften front knee. Step back to downward facing dog pose from here. Paddling through the feet. We'll take that sequence to the other side. So I've turned on my mat so that I won't have my back to you on this side, but you're fine where you are. Just listen to those cues. You know what you're doing. You've done it on the one side. Trust yourself. Steady inhale. And then that left foot steps a little further forward of the right. Bent knee. Push through the hands. Drive the weight of those hips further back. With your inhale, that bent left knee side, lift up to that three-legged dog. Reach out through the heel, flex the ankle joint. Bend the knee, externally rotate through the hip, so that left foot now is pointing over to that right side. Tucking the chin slightly, gaze under that right armpit. Feel the weight that comes into that left hand. Level off the weight distribution between left and right side through the hands. Pushing to drive the weight of the hips back. And then as you inhale, legs straightening out, rotate hip to face down with exhale. Lifting high off that right heel, gaze forward, knee bends, we draw the foot forward. Vertical shin bone. Back heel grounds down, maybe it steps a little closer. Left forearm to thigh as we open up into side angle. Or you could take the hand down to the inside or outside of thigh, your practice, your choice. Lengthen that bottom left side of the waist by tilting the pelvis more. Feel that that left sit bone is directing itself to the inside of that right thigh.
Final inhale here. And that top arm sweeps to the side of the body. We're preparing for that half moon transition practice on this side. Don't change where your gaze is. Stay facing over to that right side. Maybe you hop the back foot a little closer in, so that reach away with the left hand out to the left side of the foot and forward of it, lifting off of that back right heel. As you inhale, glide the weight forward to float the back leg up. Feel where the support of grounded foot is primarily, and a little support from fingertips. And then as we exhale, we bend the knees, sink the hips as they move back and foot lands. A couple more times. Take it slow. Engage and recruit your core strength. Work with the play of where your center of gravity is. Intelligent practice. Grounding the foot down, and that final lift through inhale. Maybe you're rotating, stacking ribs and shoulders a little more. Maybe you're repositioning where hand is. And that final dropping down. We lift and rise up, preparing for Trikonasana on this side. Soften the shoulders down, extend out through fingertips, lengthening through inhale. Gaze along front fingertips as we tuck that left hip in, reaching forward. End of that movement, windmilling into position. Drishti gaze choice will affect how you're working through the muscles of the neck. Aware of the importance of the pelvis here, that pelvic tilt. Sit bone of that front leg side, directing towards the inner thigh of back leg. Shoulders gliding down, that extension out through the head. Energy along the spine. Final exhale here. Final inhale. Maybe soft front knee as that top arm drops down, and again we transition into downward facing dog pose. Steady inhale and steady exhale. Lowering to the knees, put in place any supports that you might want that we went through at the beginning of the class for your pigeon pose. We'll be entering it with the option of entering via three-legged dog again, so you want to have those props to hand. We'll work with the right leg moving forward first, and so have those supports, props that you may want, blanket, cushion, block on that right side within reach. Steady inhale from this low kneeling position when you're ready. And steady exhale. Take yourself back up into your downward facing dog pose. With that option of stepping that right foot a little closer and feeling that difference, that ability to drive the weight of the hips further back and connect that left foot heel closer to the floor. Create space at the shoulders and lengthen through the neck. Right leg rising up into three-legged dog with that inhale. This time spin that thigh bone a little inward in a rotation to keep toes and kneecaps facing downward. Steady inhale. And then as you exhale, pushing out through the foot. Inhale, point that lifted right leg as we bend the knee to plank pose, hug the thigh close up. Back to three-legged dog with inhale. Exhale into that plank, draw that thigh up towards chest without rounding back. Inhale, stretch out. Exhale, final time, hugging in. And now let the knee drop down to the floor between the hands and sweep that right foot over to the left side. Ground the right knee, top of the foot to the floor. As you slide the hips back, when that movement ceases, create your floor of support if the outer hip, outer thigh doesn't reach down to the ground. Wedge that in for stable support. So left and right side of the pelvis stay level. And then your choice of where you want to be for this side of your pigeon pose.
Back left leg, roll the front of the thigh bone to face more downward, no external rotation. Left hip, the extended back left leg. Can you pull that thigh bone a little up into that pelvis to level out the pelvis and create more space at that low back sacrum space? So you could move down into a more restorative version with arms stretching out. You could stay lifted up higher and work with that extension of the chest like we did in our dance or standing balance. Engaging low belly pelvic floor to keep drawing the back of the pelvis down away from that lumbar. You could even advance this by bending that back knee, flexing through that foot. As you gaze to left hand can take the grab as we did in our standing balance, and then turning the chest to face forward, right fingertips maybe out to the side for stability. And then that grab with the ankle, drive the lower leg outward to that left side into the hand as it draws away to lift the heart space. Again, feel the work through the buttocks, through the low belly pelvic floor to drop the back of the pelvis, lift the front of the pelvis. This is about lifting through heart space. Depending on how secure it feels, maybe that right arm lifts up as we did in our dancer pose balance. Steady inhale. Working wherever is beneficial in your variation of a pigeon pose. If arm is lifted, releasing it down, tipping that torso forward, bending the back knee more. That slow controlled release of the hand grab. So we're all with hands to the floor. Draw the hands back for all of us towards the line of the knee now. Pause here. Tuck back toes. Push through this front shin bone. Push out through the tucked back toes and the hands to lift the hips. Back knee can lift, hips can rise higher, and we can transition up into that three-legged dog. And then draw the foot down to the floor. To the left side. Option to step the left foot a little closer with bent knee to drive through the hands. Weight of the hips further back, right heel further back. Lifting into three-legged dog with that inhale. Again, check the knee toes aren't pointing out to that left side. This time we want to keep enough internal rotation for that neutral hip alignment. One more breath here. Pushing through the hands, keeping the weight of the hips back, lengthen through the back of the neck. Final inhale. And then as you exhale, rocking forward to plank, that left thigh pulling up as knee bends. Push through the hands. Inhale back to three-legged dog. Think about that rotation through the hip. Keep it neutral. Exhale into that high plank, thigh drawn up. One more time as we inhale back. Exhale forward. Can you lift that thigh a little higher? And then that knee drops between the hands. That left foot swings out to the right with flexed ankle. Back knee, top of the foot to the floor. Sliding back. Props need to move over onto this other side and fill in that gap. Check your breath. Steady, smooth. Inhale, exhale. No rush. And again, maybe you're starting to draw the hands further forward into a more reclined version. Maybe you stay more upright. Check that back thigh, front of thigh is rolling a little inward to stay facing down to floor. And if you're working with those dancer variations, low belly, pelvic floor engages a little more, back glutes on that right side, fire up a bit more, knee bends, ankle flexes. As we turn to the right, we can more easily take that grab. And then as we turn the chest to face forward, that back foot presses outward into hand as well as drawing away with the aim of lifting that heart space. And then maybe opposite arm rises up. It doesn't need to. This is the real test of that support on that left side. Did you get it right? If the pelvis is very level and well supported on the left side, it's easier to lift that left hand. So maybe this is the time you notice that you need to come out and wedge a little support under that left side. Notice the difference.
So just a little longer in this if you choose, lifting through heart, engaging those lower muscles to open space in the low back. And then as the arm lowers, bend that back knee a bit more. Release the bind under control as we tipped forward. So everyone working to those hands back grounded down to the floor as we walk from either side of front knee. Back toes tucked. Pushing through hands, through shin, through the back toes, knee lifts, hip lifts, and we can transition into that three-legged dog briefly. Foot returning to the floor, knees coming wide, tops of feet to the floor, sinking back into an extended child pose. Check the head is supported. You have props near you. Maybe it's nice to put them under the head. And pausing here for a few breaths. So staying in your child pose. Maybe you want to change where the arms are from forward to either side of the knees, adjusting the distance of the knees if you wish. And notice the feel of the breath in the back side of the body. Softening through the face, relax the jaw and the throat. And consciously be with the length of your inhale, the length of your exhale. That smooth, regulated breath. And then as you come upright, finding your seat, finding your sit bones to the floor, we can take the legs ahead of us. Comfortably start to extend those legs out. I'll be to the side for that better view. Hands either side of sit bones. In our Dandasana staff pose, feel through the sit bones. That anchoring that gives you that gentle lift, that gentle space. Soften the shoulders down, chin slightly tucked, soft at the throat and the jawline. Your steady inhale and exhale. Sweeping arms forward and skyward. Feel that extra lift on inhale. Maybe the knees bend more as we start to hinge at the hips and lay belly rib by rib down as we did in standing forward fold. Notice where your hands bind. Soft elbows, soft at the shoulders. Next inhale, draw the length of the front body along the thighs, lengthening and lifting the chest as we would for a half fold. And then start to lay more of that rib cage, chest down, tucking the chin. So no pull through the shoulder line, through the neck. A gentle stretch through the back of the body, a stretch for the legs. A little bit of Mula and Uddiyana Bandha, that gentle drawing inward and upward. Just very gently tucking those organs in so there's no downward pressure on them. That's the aim. So when lungs fill and diaphragm descends down into that abdominal space, it will be stopped a little by these gentle bandhas. So it encourages more of an outward action, expanding through that rib cage, through the sides of the body. Notice where the breath has more space to go. And then what can you do to create more ease, to create more available space? Notice where the weight is now through sit bones, how it's dropped further forward than when you're upright seated. Notice if there's mental resistance, physical resistance. If you strive too fast and too deep, it can be counterproductive. Maybe you slightly back away. And then creep more slowly towards it. One final breath here. Finish with your exhale. And let the inhale just lift you slightly up by lifting the gaze and lifting the heart, so belly and thighs still connected. And then softening those knees as you lift yourself with that exhale. Tipping yourself back. Let's bend the knees, feet to the floor, hip distance apart. Fingertips can be behind and facing outward. And then opening the heart through inhale. And exhale to neutral. Fingertips can stay pointing to the side or turn to face to the toes. Option to take what we took before or lifting those hips high up. Fingertips pointing to feet or outward and then lowering through exhale. So any front body opening that you want to work with for that final inhale. Sinking the hips back down on that exhale. And then coming onto the back, we're going to repeat working with shoulder bridge. So lining up the heels closer to sit bones, parallel and hip distance apart. Broadening the collarbones, feel the shoulder blades connect more fully to the floor. Back of the head, no obstruction for connecting it to the floor. Chin is level. Tucking the tailbone under with your inhale, starting to peel that spine away. And lowering through that exhale. Pause for the inhale. And now see how it feels to lift with exhale as you tuck the tailbone under. Start to peel the spine away, lifting up through exhale. Maybe with the inhale you stay here. Arms could rise up overhead, your choice. Make sure you're stable through the pelvis. Use inner and outer thighs grounding through the feet. Arms could return to the side with exhale. And then see how it feels to lower with an inhale. So work another 6 to 8 breaths, lifting and lowering. You decide how you're using the breath, how long you're staying lifted. Be present, be connected to your practice, your choices. Let the movement be guided and captured by your breath. Is there an opportunity to slow that breath down a little? More space for the movement. So finish up your final set, your final repetition, however you've been working with it. And when the pelvis next lands down to the floor, take your time. Then draw those knees in towards you. Maybe you're taking a gentle rock from side to side. Or any other comforting movements there. As the feet land, draw the soles of the feet together, let the knees open out. If that feels okay for your low back space, for your hips, let the arms sweep a little away from the sides of the body to give those shoulders more space to relax and release. Steady inhale. And steady exhale. So just another couple of breaths here. Hands can be used to help guide those knees back together. And then from here, an optional inversion of those legs. So you could work just from the mat with the legs lifted up if that feels comfortable. You want to feel that it's fairly easeful, that the legs feel fairly weightless.
Another option with lifted legs is to take a block, a cushion, a blanket, lifting the pelvis as we did for shoulder bridge to slide it underneath that sacrum space, low back space, no sense of digging in. That will slightly tilt the pelvis and could make a big difference in terms of allowing the legs to be floated up in comfort and relatively easeful. Or you could work with shoulder stand, headstand, even if that's in your practice. So make sure with these home practices, you don't have a teacher there to guide you. You do not want to injure your neck. It simply isn't worth it. But if these are in your practice and you want to work into some variation of a shoulder stand, then you're welcome to do so. I'll show a couple of options, but please do not feel this is something you need to do. Your safety is the priority. So for more of a piked shoulder stand position, we can draw those legs up. As we soften the knees, we can start to lift this back of the pelvis up, pushing through the hands to lift the hips. And then as we edge the elbows closer in, they can bend, and the flat palms can rest to that low back sacrum space. And then it's finding that center of gravity as we open the chest and have those shoulder blades flat down. Make sure the back of the neck isn't pressing down to the floor so the chin is not overly tucked. And it should feel that it's fairly light support you receive from those hands. It's finding that center of gravity that allows for that. Okay. So present in your chosen inversion for as long as you want to be in it. Present with the breath. Scanning through the body. And your transitions are such an important part of your practice. Particularly with some of these inversions. And then once you've released down out of it, any releasing movement. So maybe again, it's hugging those knees in. Maybe the feet land and you're wipering the knees from side to side. So whenever you feel ready, release into your position for relaxation. And maybe that is the classical Shavasana. Maybe you've got a bolster or some support behind your knees. Maybe you wish to have your legs lifted and supported by a wall or a chair. Comfort and stillness. So take your time to settle. Use any props to hand to enhance that experience for yourself. Support beneath the head if that's beneficial for aligning the neck. So staying and relaxing in this position. So relax the breath. Let go of any conscious pacing of it. Soften through the face, the neck and the shoulders. Relax the arms. Soften through the torso, the chest, the ribs and the belly, the sides of the body, shoulder blade space, back, ribs and low back. Release through hips. Feel the soft flesh of buttocks and the heaviness of legs. And imagine now that you are walking along a seashore. You're in full health, and it's a beautiful sunny day. The temperature is just right. Warm sunshine. with a gentle breeze. As you walk along the beach, feel your feet sinking into the soft, dry sand. Smell the salty sea air. And listen to the sound of the waves coming into shore. There are seabirds overhead. You can hear their calls. And watch the waves coming into the shore, melting into the sand. And walk towards the sea. Notice how now you're walking on the firm, damp sand. And there's a tide line here where the seashells and the seaweed are drying in the sun. See the black seaweed drying and the pebbles and shells among the tangle. So as you stand, look out to sea. Feel how your feet sink a little in the wet sand. And see the sunlight that glints on the water, the white foam on the waves, and the color of the water. Imagine that all your worries are being taken out to sea on the tide. Let them go. Enjoy the feel of the sun on your body. Breathe in the fresh air. Here the elements are in balance. Earth, water, fire, and air. And they promote a sense of balance within you. They recharge your energy, as well as bringing a sense of calm, a sense of well-being. So feeling refreshed, restored, renewed, turn now and walk back up the beach the way you came. Feel how you return to that warm and soft sand underfoot. And let the image now melt away. Let it go. But keep with you that feeling of peacefulness, of feeling balanced, energized, and yet calm. Invite that fuller, deeper breath into the body as you stretch out through fingers and through toes. Invite that reawakening, that reconnection, plugging into your life. Start to reawaken the limbs, gentle, easeful movement. Maybe you're hugging those legs in towards you. Gentle, easeful movements here. Notice the light levels, sounds around you. Support the head as you roll to your side. Eyes are open. In your same space, but feeling refreshed and renewed. Take your time to move to an upright seated position, and we'll close class together. So your comfortable seat. Again, that could be cross-legged, legs extended, in a chair, low kneeling, any supports, any lifts underneath you that make it all more comfortable. Prioritize that length, that space through the spine, and then palms come together to heart space.
As the lungs fill, sweep wide and comfortably high. Palms connect through the exhale, drawing that energy to your heart space. Again, connect with energy, life all around you. And exhale, take it to you. One more time together. Thank you all for your practice. Namaste.